Come on, who's ready for week 10 in the house today? I love you all. Parent today for what we want to have in the future. You know, the ultimate goal, as we said in week 1, is a relationship with our kids when they become adults. You know, I don't want to spend 18, 20, 25 years raising them and have them leave the house and call me a couple times a year. That's unacceptable to me. That what I put in, I demand a harvest. But there's things that we can do to really help navigate the future. And I think Holly brought this into our world, and I know that I do it now, is making sure that you have things at least once a week of time with each child individually. Whatever that is. Doesn't have to be a ton of time. Could be a show that you watch, that the two of you have a show that you watch. And I'm talking about once they get, actually you can do it at any age. When they're 2 and 3, you take them out for Dairy Queen. As soon as each of my kids started school and they'd have a half day, I'd pick them up on Friday and we'd do a Peter Piper pizza.
Yep.
And I'd have a little Peter Piper pizza with them every Friday. I do daddy-daughter date. Holly sometimes will just grab a kid, go get a coffee. But being mindful of making sure every week you have at least one of those moments where it's just the two of you developing the relationship. Right? Relationships are something we develop. So if we don't work on it, and then all of a sudden one day they're 23 and we're like, hey, let's go out to lunch. They're like, no, thank you. Right? But it's something that we've been doing since they were too young to remember, and it just became a habit that we can't break. And so I encourage you, if you haven't been doing it, no big deal. Just start doing it this week. Find things and it's really important that you get into their world. It's not what you love to do. It's what they love to do. And there's times that we have a show. Savvy's not in here, so I'm not. Like we're watching a show right now. Like I can't stand it. It's annoying to me. Like it's just, but it's fine. And she's like, "Daddy, you slept through that?" No, I was wide awake for that one. But it's her. She enjoys it, and so I got to get into her world, and so I think that's important.
Well, and today, I had. I'm just kidding.
What did you have?
I had lunch with one of them.
But they're sitting right there.
But he's in here.
Yeah.
So
You're like,
I wanted to say that. That was funny.
She's like, once a week on Wednesday, I have to have lunch with this one child. And it's just, it's almost unbearable, right?
Well, actually, talking about that, how cool is that? How cool that my adult kid, married, child, and we'll still go and
once a week.
Yeah, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, right? Like I'm like he's busy. He's got a lot on his plate, but I so appreciate that he'll set that time aside, carve that time out.
Amen.
And that his wife too. Like I mean, is that cool? That like his wife is like, okay, go have lunch with your mom, right? So such a blessing when you set that habit.
And as you're listening to this, and if you're watching the video, this isn't something that's just one day. This is something that we've been teaching you from the beginning, that we started in motion some 5 years ago, so that today we're reaping the harvest. What I do today determines what I get in my future. So we have to be mindful of what do I want my future relationship and time with my children to look like when they're in their 20s and 30s and 40s. Yeah. Okay, so now what am I doing today to put me on the path to get to me what I want to have in my future? All right, so the next 2 weeks, important, amazing. They're actually 3 weeks. Really, everything is going to be coming together for you as we're doing this. Watch the scripture, Proverbs 29:15. To discipline a child produces wisdom, but a child left undisciplined disgraces its mother. I don't know what it does to the father, but I guess mama's not happy with that. And so if I want to raise up a wise adult making good decisions, good choices, then discipline is a very important part of what we do as parents. And so the next 3 weeks, we're really going to be talking about the discipline of our children. So let's talk about what discipline is. Discipline number 1 is love. We know that. Love is discipline. I discipline you because I don't want you to grow up to be a jerk. I discipline you because I don't want to have you grow up to be lazy. I discipline you. I care so much for you that I'm going to have to put, because discipline is not fun. Like you don't get it and go, oh my God, this is going to be great. It's not fun for us, right? But I have to do it because you're that important to me that I have to make sure that I keep you on a path that's going to bring you success all the days of your life. Number 2, discipline is, and this is the key one, get this in your heart. It's about simply changing direction. That's what discipline is. It's changing. What do I need to do to change a child's direction? You're headed in the wrong way. Maybe you got a child that just won't listen, won't do what you ask. Okay, that's not what we want in your future. So I have to change that direction. You got a child that just isn't giving their all in school, and they're bringing home C's and D's, and that's unacceptable. So I have to change the direction. You're hanging out with the wrong friends, and they're getting you into trouble. And so what do I need to do to change your direction? And if I'm doing something and they keep doing it, then that's not the right discipline. This is what's great about this program, is the fact that it fits each child differently. Every child's different. Every child, their discipline is going to look different than another child. Because I got to change your direction, might be different. And we call it your kryptonite. What's a child's kryptonite? What's going to get them to go, okay, that's not worth it, right? It's called a payoff. Dr. Phil talks about payoffs. When a child does something wrong, there's some sort of emotional, some sort of payoff that they get. So I have to make sure that the consequences outweigh the payoff that they get for doing the wrong behavior in life. And every child's different. You might have a 12-year-old, a girl, and you take away her phone for a few days, and everything in the world changes. But for a boy, he's like, whatever, right? Okay, you can have it all month. It doesn't bother me none, right? But maybe a boy does bother. But maybe for the boy, you take away his video games for a day or something. And so making sure that we're looking at changing direction. If you do it and it doesn't change direction, then you have not found their kryptonite yet.
Can I add something really fast before we get even further?
Yeah.
Well, I was just, as you were talking, I don't think I've ever talked about this, or this has never risen up inside of me as we've done this year after year, but I was thinking about the whole concept of discipline. And, so many times you hear opponents of disciplining a child, forcing someone's will, or we got to break their will, and all these aggressive, concepts behind discipline. And I was actually thinking to myself, doesn't training up our kids, this entire system that we're doing, this entire class, right, is all about creating adults who contribute to their communities, to their homes, that they build their homes in a successful way. But I was thinking too, how many people, and maybe even some of you sitting in here, or maybe you know somebody who doesn't have a disciplined life themselves, and is there any link to an undisciplined childhood, or not hearing the word no as a young person, to the point now where as adults, they're struggling in certain areas of their life, whether it's health, whether it's finances or relationships, and the ability to live a disciplined life, the ability to say, well, I'm going to not do this over here because this over here at the end of that laboring season of not doing something is going to be a bigger payoff for me. Whether it's getting in the gym, whether it's eating healthy, maybe it's saving money and not spending when you want to. All of those things, they're difficult to manage right now if we never were trained on how to live a disciplined life and never trained on how to do something that in the moment maybe wasn't comfortable to what we wanted to do. And so I think if we switch our minds and look at what discipline can create in a child as they grow into an adult, a person who can discipline themselves, live a disciplined life. And that's all in my mind when I think about this. It's all we want to instill in our kids is the ability to understand right is right, wrong is wrong, and how do we live in that? How do we manage that for our lives? And if we can do it when they're little, nobody likes to have discipline, but when you said that, I thought, we have to live disciplined lives now. I have to tell myself now I can't do such and such, right? And it's difficult and it's hard, but I lived a disciplined childhood. So there's a part of me that goes, okay, but I know that it's going to have a great payoff in the end. And I think as parents, if we can switch that in our mind, it just sounds different to me, right? There's purpose beyond getting the kids to do what we want them to do. We want that, but there's a greater goal at the end of it. These are going to be adults who live disciplined lives.
And if they don't get disciplined as children, how many people know life will discipline them and it won't be fun?
Right.
As adults, life is not fun. And so that's our goal. Holly's right on. We've got to make sure that we are teaching our children all of the things, putting the right things in their heart. So as adults, they are living a life of success. That's what discipline is. So put them in young, train up a child in the way they should go. And when they get older, they're like, I can't depart from it. You know, I want to be lazy, but I just can't be lazy. I want to give up, but I just can't give up. Finding your child's kryptonite. We had some friends that did this. I love that. They had a kid that was just wasn't doing good in school. No matter what they did, they tried everything, couldn't figure out how to get them. They're hanging out with the wrong friends. So this child was like in junior high, maybe 8th or 9th grade, loved their fashion, had the nicest fashion clothes, had a closet full of all the clothes their daughter does, all the brand names.
Yep.
So when this girl got home, they had taken all of her brand name clothes out of her closet. They had gone to Kmart and got her all new clothes. And they said, here you go. You have a new wardrobe. These are your Kmart clothes. When you get better grades and you hang out with better friends and making better decisions, you can get all your brand name clothes back right away. And wouldn't you know that child got straight A, like everything changed when they just had to find their child's kryptonite to change direction for them. The heart of a parent, it's very important that we have this mentality, and I believe this with my whole heart, that we will do whatever it takes to change our child's direction. That we'll do anything to save them. I know that we say, well, of course I would do anything to save them. Yeah, but then there comes sometimes in the teenage years where parents are like, well, what do? You know what I'm saying? Right? And they're like, I guess we'll just pray. And I go, no. I don't think there'll ever be an age for me where I go, well, you know, they're destroying their life. I guess I just got to be hands off. That's not my mentality. It's not Holly's mentality. And I want to get it into your heart that it's not your mentality, that whatever that takes to change their direction, this is what you do. I have a cool video. I've been wanting to play this. I don't know if it fits here exactly, but I love this video because this is my mentality.
Hey, Bunny, could you go take out the trash, please?
Shut up, Mom. Dad, we're just joking. It's just a prank. It's just a prank.
It's okay.
No, I like that.
Oh, big guy.
Oh.
Wow. That's aggressive.
Right? That's Dad. You don't tell Mom to shut. You don't tell my wife to shut up. There's a mentality of changing the direction of a child, an urgency in a sense. I use this example as an extreme example, but it's just to get the point across. If you're at the park and with your 6-year-old daughter, and some guy came over and grabbed her and started running with her, you don't go, well, what do you do about that? That stinks. No, whatever it takes, you chase him. You get right. I will get you. Like right. But then you have parents who's like their 15-year-old daughters dating a 23-year-old loser, right? And they're like, well, what do you do, Pastor? I don't know. You know, she sneaks out at night. You know, no. You have the same mentality as if you had a 6-year-old as you do a 15-year-old. You have to figure out, well, she just sneaks out. Well, then you put bars in the window. I don't know what to do. You figure it out. You're smart. You're smarter than a 15-year-old. If I have to handcuff myself to you every night to go to sleep, if I have to take you to school to be able to break this off of your life because I love you too much to let you destroy your life at 15 and get yourself in a whole big old mess. And what happens is if you let the girl do what she wants at 15, she'll hate and despise you at 28, 29, 30 because you allowed her to destroy her lives. So I have to love you so much, I'm willing to have you hate me right now. Right? That's how much I love you. You're going to hate me right now for the next 6 months, a year, whatever it takes. But I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to win. Your life is too valuable, too important to me for me to allow you to destroy it. All right, so that's got to be our mentality, our attitude. You got your flow chart. The flow chart, I love the flow chart. I really do. And in the beginning stages, you maybe have it on the fridge, have it on your phone. It's meant to guide you directly for everything, whatever's going on with the child. You should go through the flow chart, come to an answer, and it'll tell you basically what you need to do in this moment with your child. That's what makes it beautiful. So there might be times early on where you're like, I'll be back. And then you go and you check the flow chart and you come back, you're like, all right, this is what we're doing, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But I encourage you to, after a while, it'll just become a part of what you are, but the flow chart is going to help you get there. All right, so write in the flow chart in S1, write skills and talents. Skills and talents. And then in B1, write in behaviors. So it's going to take us in two different directions depending on what they are. It's very important as parents that we realize there's difference. There's skills and talents and there's behaviors. Not everything in life is moral. Some things are just morally neutral. It's just a skill and a talent, right? Riding a bike is not morally good or bad, right? Being able to do one, that's neutral. Riding your bike in the street when I told you not to, well, that's a behavior. There's a different. Making your bed is a skill. Right? Making your bed before you go to school because that's what we told you to do, that's a behavior. Hitting a ball, skill. Hitting your sister with a bat, that's a behavior, right? So making sure that we know the difference between the two and we treat the two dramatically different in our parenting style. So under skills, the goal of what we do with skills is to develop children who are self-motivated, and that they realize the importance of practice. Everything that we're kind of navigating with these is, once again, parenting for the future. That as they become adults, they realize, if I want to get good at something, then I need to practice it. I got to work hard at it, right? I got to grow in that. And what you do is you raise up confident kids who know, I can do anything. I just know that I'll have to work at it in order to be good at it. And so that's what we want to raise up kids. So, you want to go sell insurance, and you got to take the test to do it. You're like, well, I can pass that test. I just know I'll have to study, I'll have to work at it, I'll have to practice the things that I'll have to do. And so we're raising up everything that we're doing with skills and talents is putting them towards a self-motivation and an idea that if I practice something and I work hard at something, that I can be good at it. All right, so in S2, write in verbal praise. Once again, we're dealing with skills and talents. So learning to ride a bike, hitting a baseball, playing a sport, right? Playing the piano. These are skills and talents. Verbal praise is really, really powerful when done right. It's one thing, they bring you a little picture like, oh, that's pretty, yeah, great job. There's another thing that when we get mindful of pointing our praise back to practicing or hard work. Oh my gosh, you come in and they're playing the piano. You're like, that sounds amazing. That's because you've been practicing all week, every night. I mean, listen how good that sounds because of your practice. At the baseball, after the game, you're like, you were catching the ball better than you ever have, right? I mean, remember, you were outside practicing, 3 nights this week on that. And so you're pointing them back to the fact that the practice is what made you better in that. And the best praise is unexpected praise in front of other people, or just unexpected praise is also good. Unexpected praise. There's the praise where they bring you a picture and you're like, oh my God, that's amazing, right? There's the praise that I want us to kind of try and get in the habit of doing, where you're just walking by and you come over and they're doing something, you're like, oh my gosh, you have a talent and a gift for art. And I'll do that. I'll lie about it. I mean, so if my kids are in here, because I don't know what they're going to be great at. You don't know when they're 5 years old. Like, you look at a picture, you're like, that's the worst thing I've ever seen. But you don't say that, right? Because they may have artists in them. So I'm like, you have got a gift for being an artist. That is incredible what you're doing. I walk away and I'm like, he'll never draw anything. So you're looking, but then you're also looking for opportunities, right? And you do that for math, English, but you're also looking for opportunities to praise them in front of other people. That's like the ultimate praise. When it's unexpected, it's in front of others, grandma and grandpa there, you're like, you know what, Susie is an artist. I mean, I'm blown away at what she's doing at school, and you can see the child just light up. Something happens. Something gets put inside of them. When we learn to speak, and it's very important to me, and we'll talk more about this probably, I think, next week, in making sure that my words that come out of my mouth is nothing but uplifting in front of other people. You don't want to say, little Johnny's a handful, oh my gosh, because Johnny goes, oh, I'm a handful. Okay, I am what you say I am, so I'll become a handful. Instead, you say, oh my gosh, my kids are so well behaved. I mean, they take them to somebody's house, and even if it's not true, you're just speaking what you want into existence. That's biblical. Speak what you ain't got so that you get what you want, right? And these kids, I can take them to the store. I can take them anywhere. They're so well behaved. And so you are speaking over your child, and what your child, little Johnny goes, oh, I didn't know I was well behaved. Okay. And it becomes a part of who they are rather than, oh, okay, I didn't know that I was hard to handle, that I was difficult. I didn't know that I was those things. So we make sure that what comes out of our mouth is for building up and for edifying our children.
Well, I like what you said because, the word's very specific. If you look at Jesus, he finished and then he would begin. And he would speak he would speak what he knew was going to be. He saw the end, and then he began, and then he started. And so it's really, really helpful for us to take that model and to go ahead and picture your kids in all their amazing, what you see them in their potential, and speak to that. Speak to the potential that they have on the inside of them, because the Word says they can do anything through Christ, who gives them the strength, who equips them, and gives them wisdom and all the blessings, all the promises. So it's prophetic. You can speak that over your kids. You can speak it over them, even in those moments you don't see it. Let them hear you say what you know and who you know they are intrinsically on the inside because of Jesus.
Amen. S3, write in goals and incentive. Goals and incentive. These are to help with skills and talents, and it's to get them to practice, to do the hard work, to put in the time. Hey, if you nail your piano recital, we're going to take you out and get you a special toy. Once again, this is not a behavior. This is just skills and talents. So it's something to motivate them to practice so that they see the result of practice, right? Hey, when you learn to ride your bike, I did that with the kids. When you learn to ride your bike, which you're going to have to go out and practice, you have to grab Dad and go out and practice. I'm going to take you out and we'll go out for Dairy Queen, right? And so you put some sort of incentive out in front of them. I would do that in sports. I was thinking about Baylor. So for Baylor in football, I'm like, okay, I want to get tackles, right? So I came up with the beginning of the season. I go, here's the thing, son. For every tackle you get in a game, Dad's going to give you $3. So in my mind, I'm thinking, if you get 3, 4, 5 tackles, like 10, 15, $20, right? And so after the first week, I'm like, well, he's not going to make any money. So I go, all right, Dad's going to give you 5. And then I moved it up to 10. And come to find out, I could have made it $1 million per tackle and still been financially okay because he didn't get any tackles. So it didn't work in that one because football was not his game. But you look for ways. I did with the kids with baseball. Hey, if you get yourself a home run, this is what I'll get you for Peyton and actually all of them for wrestling. Hey, if you can place in the state, Heath. I was thinking about Heath. Where's it? Heath is in here somewhere. So for gymnastics, remember I think he was he might have been 12 years old. I told him, I said, hey, if you take first place in state this year, I'm going to buy you a laptop, right? It was like a $1,000 laptop. I'm like, and I'm like, he ain't going to do it. And so, no, I was hoping he would. But anyway, kind of until we got to the last event. So 5 events, he was number 1. And then I'm watching him, I'm going trip. And I'm going,
So mean. Okay, are you
I'm done. Yeah. I'm
okay,
done.
so I have a question for you.
Yes.
Okay, so...
I know we're doing questions and answers.
Well...
I'm not ready. Get it. Bring it.
You're a little ready.
Okay.
Okay. So is there ever a time when working at a skill and talent becomes a little bit of a behavior? In that you're paying for piano lessons and they don't practice
100%.
routinely.
100%.
So what do we do when that happens?
We'll get that next week.
Oh. Okay. So this is where I say
Right.
That obviously you're paying for a lesson or you're paying for, gymnastics or you're paying for stuff and start with incentives, obviously. But I think that there comes a point maybe before you begin those types of things, especially if you're putting time into it and finances into it, where it's a conversation. Before you even sign up, before you even sign on the dotted line, has to be a conversation where you and child are in agreement with each other of what it's going to, what this looks like, what the commitment is going to entail and require of them. And then when incentives aren't working, you do have to bring it up. You have to have that conversation again where you're like, hey, remember when we had that conversation? Because in our home, we don't quit. So every year with Heath in gymnastics, it was a conversation. And I would say, are we in for another year of this? And of course, I'm getting him at the end of competition season where he did really well. So he was always all in. And then you get to the middle of that season where it's hard work and practice and not very fun. And it was like, oh. So talk to them at the beginning when they,
Right.
before all the hard work. But anyway.
And I'm going to put this in here also. Oh. Write this down for teenage years. Teenagers are busy. You don't get not to do something. In the Anderson home, you don't get to not do a sport or a music or something in your teenage years. Because when a child is not busy in their teenage years, how many people know they find trouble? Savvy can't find trouble. Why is that? My gosh, she got cheer 5 nights a week. She's got band on Thursday night. She sings Saturday night. She's got piano practice on Tuesday night. She's got tennis lessons twice a week. This is what we do with our children. We keep you busy. And I think it's important for our children and she gets straight A's on all of the things. So this in honors classes. And so this is what we do for the teenage years. You pick a sport. You pick a sport. I don't care what it is, right? And then I think Baylor was his senior. He's like, I don't want to wrestle. I'm like, stinks to you. We're wrestling. And so that's what we do. I don't go to your wrestling matches for 7 years and have you as a senior go, I don't want to wrestle. I'm like, that's not an option. We wrestle. We work hard. We go to practice. This is what we do. And at the end of it, he's glad that I did that. And the same thing for your child. It doesn't have to be a sport. It could be band. Right. It could be orchestra. It could be, but once again, we, as the Andersons, we do things. This is what we do. It looks good on a college resume. It looks good in life. And you learn things in sports and activities and band that you don't learn just sitting at home watching TV at night. You know, when you think about how much free time a teenager has, Savvy still has large gaps of free time in her life with doing all of those things. And so I really do. I'm putting it out there because I think it is so important. They make friends, they make relationships, and so it's important that our kids are involved. And our kids always were in sports, always.
Yeah, I wanted to add, because when you were talking, I'm like, wow, that is extensive.
She's busy.
We do a lot.
We do.
But as I was listening to him, I was thinking it's also connected to family identity, though, too. Because, like, the whole cheer aspect, it's become a little bit of entertainment. Her siblings come, her niece comes, it's become, and it's become just connected to us as a family. And so maybe for you, it's a community something. Maybe it's a church something that you guys do together. But the concept that I think is so powerful that you talked about is making sure that they're working as teams, making sure they're learning that as a part of a team and as a member of a team, I have a contribution. And when I'm absent from the team lacks because I bring a lot to the team. Your child brings something and brings something to that team. So in their absence, the team is missing them. And there's something that's learned in that when you're part of a bigger group of people that are expecting you to do your part. How many people have done cooperative education projects? And you had a portion of that. And if you don't do it, the entire group, the grade suffers. And so we're just raising, again, kids that turn into adults that know how to contribute in all aspects of life. And it's going to look different for each family because you're unique and individual. You're different than us. But these are just examples.
I'm going to give you a Scotty fact. As Holly was talking, I'm going over all the different, 28 years of ministry, all the parents and teenagers that I've seen. Parents whose kids were heavily involved in high school, I can't think of one where the kids were a lot of trouble as teenagers. Almost every parent who had their kids not involved in stuff in high school had big problems as teenagers. I'm just giving you a fact. So it needs to be on your mind and in your heart to make sure that we're keeping our kids busy during the teenage years. All right, let's get to, we did goals, incentives, behaviors. Let's get to behaviors, B1. All right, so these are behaviors now. Now we're getting into the stuff. And when we deal with behaviors, it's all about the heart. I got to look at the heart of the child. That's the important things. Now, there's two parts of behaviors. There's the positive side and the negative side. We always want to spend more time on the positive if we can, but we will end up at times in the negative side. I get that. But on the positive side, right in B2, encouragement. Encouragement. Once again, Dr. Phil says that we do things for a feeling oftentimes. There's some sort of reward. When a child does a good behavior, there should be some sort of encouragement that goes with it that reconfirms, and it feels good. We all like that. When we do something, could be at the job, and the boss is like, man, that was really good. I'm glad you went over, you did that. Right? It feels good. Same thing for our children. We want to make sure that we're looking more for the good than we are the evil. That in a way that we spend more time elevating the good things that our kids do than we do suppressing the bad things that they're doing. And so when I become mindful of it, I find myself spending more time seeing the good. You have two kids at the store, one kid's amazing, one kid's not acting up, and you spend all your time on the kid that acted up, and you never said anything to reward to the kid that was being great. I get it that you have to deal with the kid that was acting up, but on the same thing, you can give some encouragement and praise to the child that was acting in the manner in which that you wanted. So we're elevating the good. One of the things that I did today, Savvy's report card came in, I got it today, all straight A's, and so I posted it on our Family 10 chat. And so it just went out there like, it was praise, like, oh my God, look, it's amazing, right? And all the other kids are chiming in, how awesome, except for Baylor. Baylor said it was because of performance-enhancing drugs, and I don't really agree with that. That hit me hard when he put that in there.
Yes,
I wasn't ready for that one. I didn't know she was doing those. And so looking for ways to praise our kids and encourage them when they are doing the good things. E1, this is probably the greatest for those of you that have small kids, young kids. I think it's the most important one for us. E1 is pre-activity. It's a game changer. It changed our life when we started doing the pre-activity. Because here's the thing, when you got 3, 4, 5, first graders, second graders, their mind is everywhere, right? It's all over the place. And so you get somewhere and you're like, why are you running? What are you doing? They just forget. They just don't remember. So the pre-activity is to fill their brain up with the things they're going to do in the next place that we're going to be at. You put it at the forefront of their mind, and it helps you not having to discipline children because they're like, oh, yeah, okay, don't run, don't do this. And so it's the pre-activity thing that we do.
Well, and they get to participate, too, in the solutions. Like, there's something really amazing, come on, when you get to, when you're a part of the figuring it out. So, like, in the pre-activity, I would say, okay, we're going into Target. How do we act in a store? And they would say, good. Okay. What's that look like? Define that for a mom. But then I would say, what should happen if we're not good? And they would have all these crazy suggestions, and you let them be creative. But what's really awesome about it is they take ownership. Because then when we go in, and if someone's not good, you got a whole, a lot of witnesses about what we said happens if we're not good. And so this is huge. This is massive about taking ownership and taking accountability and standing behind it and doing what you said you're going to do.
E2, write in verbal reminder. This is pre-activity. So before you get there, it's a verbal reminder. It's expected behavior. All right, we'll go to the store. All right, remember, we're not going to touch things. Remember, you're going to stay by. And here's a big one, right? You got a little 2-year-old, 3-year-old. You say before, you go, hey, and you're going to ride in the cart. We're not walking beside mommy today or daddy today, right? Because here's what happens, right? You get there, and all of a sudden you're going to put them in the cart, and they freak out. Well, you could have the freak out in the car where they're like, I don't want to ride. You're like, no, that's what we're doing. We're riding. You get them ready because they may have thought, I'm just going to walk around. So you're getting them emotionally ready for what the store looks like. So it's hey, we're going into the church. Remember what we're going to do? We're not loud in the church, right? We're going to go in. We're going to check in. We're going to be happy when we go to our classroom. We're going to behave for the teacher. So it's a verbal reminder. The next level, though, this is what Holly was talking about, is the questions, E3, writing questions. This is even bigger because what it is as they get a little bit older, you can start to ask them, all right, we're going to the store. What do we do, kids, as Holly was saying? Mm-hmm. And the kids then say, all right, we don't touch stuff, we don't run around. Peyton was cute. I think he was like 3 years old. The kids are all chiming in about things we don't do. Okay. And Peyton just goes, and we don't pee on the floor. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, write that one down. We don't. Andersons never pee on the floor. And so it's so good. Okay, we're going to Grandma and Grandpa's house. All right, tell me what you do. And the kid's like, oh, you don't do this, you don't do that. We don't go out back. We don't touch Grandpa's remote. We don't touch his TV. We don't turn it on and off. And so you're helping them, right? And it puts in the forefront of the mind. You'd see a difference. If there was times we forgot, then we're like, okay, we forgot. Gather the kids up. Hey, guys, remember, huddle. This is how we act when we're in the mall. And the kid's like, oh, yeah, okay. And so we get it all back in. Pre-activity is a game changer. The questions. All right, E4. Positive words. This is your specialty here, positive words, how you say things.
So for every don't, there's a alternative do. And I tried really hard when they were little-ish because I learned this one kind of midway. And we all like to hear the positive aspect of a request rather than being told not to do something. I don't know, it almost sounds like a dare when you're told don't. You're almost kind of like, well, I don't know if I'm the only person, but it kind of rises up in me where I'm kind of like, well, maybe I want to anyway. So what I would do with my kids is I tried really hard to say, hey, we're going to go in here. Let's all walk while we're in here. Let's try to, make sure we're mindful of other people rather than say, we're not going to run, don't do that. I would try to use the alternative do. Be nice. When someone says something to you, please respond politely. You get it.
Right. Stop being loud. You can say, hey, guys,
Yeah.
take it down a notch, right? It's how you phrase things. Once again, create an atmosphere. E5 is post-activity. This is afterwards, right? This is the encouragement time. This is the exciting time. You guys were so good at Grandma and Grandpa's. So proud you didn't touch anything. Once again, reconfirming all the things that we didn't do. You didn't pee on the floor. All the things that we didn't do, you reconfirm in their mind.
And this is another one that you can let them contribute to and let them take ownership and let them be proud of the good behavior. Say, okay, what are you proud of today? Mm-hmm. What did you do at Grandma and Grandpa's that you're just so proud? What did you follow? How did you how did you listen? What did you do? And let them tell you, well, I shared, or I used please and thank you, and then commend them and be very excited that they're excited.
Amen. E6 is praise. Same thing. Kind of goes along with it. Just give the kids some praise. Hey, great job. You guys didn't do this. You didn't do that. You guys did a really good job. And E7 is reward. Reward is not a bribe. Here's what a bribe is. You walk into the store, you go, hey, guys, if you're good today at the store, I'm going to get you candy. That's a bribe, a little shamu. Right? If you stop crying, I'm going to give you candy. That's a bribe. But they've already done it. You're at the end of it. We were great at church today, and it's not every week. Otherwise, it's a bribe. They're smart. They'll understand that. You're like, hey, well, we're going to go out for Dairy Queen. Right? You guys, all right? Or, hey, guys, after Walmart, and the kids did amazing. You're like, pick out candy. And so there's a reward, because life does reward us when we do things, oftentimes in life, at the end of it. Not pre, but at the end of it. And so teaching them right behavior gives you right results. And if you learned anything at all, give the Lord a hand clap.